Tonight on The Rundown, we're diving into one of the most contested resources of the digital age, human attention. Not because people suddenly forgot how to focus, but because the environments around us are now engineered to compete for it every second. Feeds, notifications, algorithms, and AI systems are constantly shaping what we notice, what we ignore, and how our minds move through the world. The real question isn't just whether our attention spans are shrinking. It's what kind of attention modern technology is training us to have. Let's get into it. Welcome to The Rundown. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to The Rundown on Thursday. Today is April 16th, right after tax day. Hope you all got, you Americans got your taxes done and got them in. I am thrilled to be here with some good friends that some of you might recognize, like my friend Tamara. Hey, Tamara.
Hello. Hey.
How's it
We have
going?
a good panel today. I'm excited.
Yeah, it is a good panel today. I'm really excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us
Thanks.
again.
I love being here.
And thanks to Tony for joining us.
Greetings, sir.
How you doing?
How are you?
Thank God.
I'm good.
I'm doing good also. Good to see you here. Miss
Glad to be here.
Lois, how are you?
Hello. I am, don't ask, don't tell.
Uh-oh. Okay.
No, it's house construction. It's almost over. I'm really looking forward to getting everything back in order.
Oh, gosh. I don't think I could live through a house construction. Like my OCD just would not allow me to survive that, I don't think.
They had to change out all the pipes in the house. They went from going in underground to overhead.
That
There's
sounds
at
like
least
such a
over
nightmare.
20 holes in the walls. And now the plumbing's done and they're just
Patching
putting the
away.
holes out.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That sounds awful.
Next week I will be so happy and
Yeah, I bet you will. I bet you will. Dave, any construction going on by you?
Plenty of construction, yeah. There's a couple of new houses going in, that sort of thing. So we got a lot of machinery noise. But it's the happy ending that we all look for. At the end of it, you got to be happy with your house.
My mother tells me that the beauty of childbirth is that you don't remember the pain because of the gift that you get at the end.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Haven't been there, so I
Absolutely
can't
true.
actually speak to that, but I don't know.
So you got the benefit of it. Yeah.
Sky, any insights into that?
I heard the two happiest days of a boater's life is the day they buy it and the day they sell it. So be glad your mother didn't sell you. I think that's
also.
Did we learn something here? I don't know. I think
don't
the
think
show's
so.
over.
I don't
And the
think so.
music
No.
rolls and the curtains and the credits.
And thanks for joining us. And
You're
here
welcome.
is Mr. Bill Davis. Hey, Bill.
What?
Who, what, when, or why? Hi, everybody.
How are you, Bill?
Nice to see you. My stepbrother, who was a serious sailor, used to say, a boat is nothing but a hole in the water you pour money into. Period.
I've been on those construction projects.
Do any of you have a boat?
And boat racing is standing in a rainstorm tearing up dollar bills. That's
Right.
what that's racing.
Do any of you have a boat?
I do have a boat that has been sitting in my driveway since even before my dad passed away, but it was his boat. And it is true. It is just pour money in, but he was a mechanic. So I think he loved it. And we are water people. We love the water. So
Yeah.
We live on a lake, and there is a canoe down there that my neighbors use fairly regularly. I haven't been in it for years.
My brother, when he decided to retire and have a boat built for him, and the boat builder was in the Philippines, so he went over there because it was taking a long time. He helped build a boat. They went floating around in that. And then they discovered that the boat builder hadn't fumigated the wood before they built the boat. So a few years later, there were these little droppings as the worms came out of the wood, and they had to get rid of the boat.
I used to have this guy, but I was too small.
No, you did.
It's too small, so I decided to upgrade.
mine's not that big.
Yeah,
I like
we're
the
still
ornamentation on the top. what, you know, that was
And you
cool.
call that a kayak?
That's what it was.
Right.
I used to be a master kayaker, by the way. I just want to say. There still seems to be some left-right stuff going on with the audio. I don't know what that is. And with love and respect to the audience, I'm not going to worry about it now because I want us to have a conversation. And my apologies if it's distracting. My hope is that most people are listening to this on a crappy little phone. Maybe it won't
I'm just going to speak out of the left side of my mouth.
That's
Is that
right.
okay?
We'll just
Just
speak
the
out the left
left.
side of our mouth. Exactly. All right. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into some news. I have to get that yacht off on my screen. Okay. Everything. No, there aren't. It's not an eCam thing, Andre. See, stop it. I'm looking at the chat. And
No,
it's
we're
distracting me.
focusing.
Stop.
We're respectfully
Pay
focusing.
I felt like there was very little news until today. And then all of a sudden I had completely missed that today was Canva Create Day where which I can't stand. I love Canva, but their event,
Their keynotes are terrible.
Fake joy. I don't know, it just drives me berserk.
Yeah.
They're all too happy about everything. And then there was we got 4.7 from Claude. Was it Opus 4.7?
Opus 4.7.
So there's just like a lot of, and then Rode dropped a whole couple of different things today. But the one that happened a little earlier this week that I thought maybe we'd take a look at is Gemini launched a native Mac app. And I'm not sure I get it, to be honest with you. So here it is. Apparently the magic here is that you can let it see whatever's on your screen. So not just what's in your browser, but whatever's on your screen. So I earlier today had something open and I went in and I said, hey, create a one-page graphic explaining this. And it took a screenshot, although I don't think it was actually a screenshot. I think it saw what was below the screen grab also. And then it did its thing and it created a little graphic for me. But if I were to open up, let's bring this up here. And
Your bank account and the
my bank
status of your
account. So
mother's maiden
these are
name.
just just like the notes for our thing. So I'll say
You are giving the secret away. Okay.
summarize this document. Oh no, I forgot to hold on a second. Yeah, I know you need more information. Sorry about that. I forgot to do this. You click on the plus, and then you can share window. So I'm going to go ahead and share this window, and it sees every window that's open. Now I can say summarize this doc. I'm not entirely sure why having a native app is better, other than I can share a native, I don't have to copy paste stuff. I guess there. And it is.
Were you curious if it looked at the doc or whether it snooped on the link that's open on your desktop, went to the source code for that link and analyzed that rather than trying to pick apart pixels?
So David, when you say having it native on the Mac, how else would you use Gemini if you weren't using it native on the Mac?
in the browser. Just go to gemini.google.com.
So that means that you have to have a browser and have something in a browser. Whereas if it's on your Mac, you can just do it from any old PDF or
right.
Word
You're
document
absolutely right.
or
You're
whatever.
absolutely correct about
So
that. Yes.
that's really the difference.
Yeah.
It
now that I'm
depends on
looking
how
at-
Gemini processes information, right? Because how Claude processes information, you actually don't want to give it a PDF because that actually uses way more tokens than if you make it into a markdown file and give it the markdown file. So is that saving money, tokens, whatever that is, by being able to read it direct and not have it uploaded into its files? And I do think Bill probably has something in that if it is able to go to a web link, it can read kind of the markdown file without ingesting a PDF. But I don't know how Gemini thinks.
I didn't even
and processes
I've
information.
never thought about how it uses tokens.
What's a token?
So that's
Because-
sort of
yeah.
like AI.
Isn't the
currency,
big
if you
hassle
will.
right
I've
now
got
though
one
with
from a car
things?
wash down the street. I could use.
Yeah, with things like OpenClaw, what I've been reading lately is that even when you stop using it, it has the capacity, this is what everybody's worried about, to continue to do research when you're not watching it. And because agentic AI is about that idea of I'm going to, from your computer, deploy agents to continue working when you're not paying any attention, when you're sleeping, when you're out at the movies or whatever, to continue doing work and then present you with those results. That's a little freaky to me.
Yeah.
And I'm beginning to get a little bit of a weird vibe off that word agentic, and everybody seems to be rushing in that direction.
Yeah.
They've been rushing for a year now, Bill. Welcome.
Well,
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's now out in the field as opposed to talking about it. It seems like more and more people are persistent.
Familiar with the word?
It's got me considering persistence, because somebody was talking in one of my chats days ago about the new Apple. People were speculating that they're going to come up with some kind of a button, right? A little thing that you can wear. And the point of that, I think, is to get closer to your mouth. So as you talk, it can understand what you're saying. And, if you're saying, oh, I have to go to the dentist on Thursday at 3:00, then it could parse that and put a note in your calendar for Thursday at 3:00 to go to the dentist. That would be really useful. But I'm concerned, and I think a lot of people are concerned about the fact that it might be monitoring more than you think it's monitoring. And you get so used to having your little lapel pin on that you will start to forget that literally everything you say is out there. Now, Apple's pretty good about sandboxing your interaction with them, but that's what I was reading right before I read about the OpenClaw stuff, and I was a little thinking.
So you're saying you're not going to get an implant? Is that what you're telling me?
I probably not. I just want to know
But
that
you're such
if
a
somebody's
Mac
listening all the time, I want
Bill
to know I have
Davis
some
not
control
getting an
over it.
implant.
I think it's
What does the
incredibly-
world come to?
I agree
I think
with
it's
that, though.
incredibly quaint that you think that there aren't a half a dozen other devices everywhere
That
you
I'm
are
gonna have a
that aren't
choice.
listening to you
Yeah,
doing the same exact thing.
Well,
But
your
here's the
phone
thing,
and
like,
your-
Have you looked around your room?
Right.
Yes, good
your
point.
phone and your
How many
iWatch are
microphone
always
elements do
listening to you,
Right.
do I have in this room at this point? Excellent point.
I think I tend to agree with that, though, because like I originally had ChatGPT as the app on my computer, and I originally had Claude as the app. And when I looked at this, I was like, you know what? I'm not willing yet. And I use Claude for coding. And I think when I started using it to code and to create things where I was like, you know what? I'm able to create things that are so far out of my understanding of the whole process that the fact that I can do it is great. And I think that's amazing. But there's more that I don't know than I do know. And I realized how many ways I could be vulnerable that I don't understand. And I feel like that has made me really aware of, if I want to do any more than I'm doing now, then I want it to have its own space where I'm in as much control as possible. But I don't think we have that, and I don't personally have enough knowledge. Like, just thinking through, really deep diving and seeing how each of the AI bots each of the chats that I use, how it processes information is huge. The reason I was running out of Claude was because I didn't understand how Claude worked versus ChatGPT. And so as I started to look at how they work differently, I realized, you know what, there's a lot of power here that I don't understand. And well, I'm going to continue to carefully tread in that lane. I'm also going to be really try to be as much aware of what I don't know as I can, because I think it's much further and faster than we understand it. And I think it's very easy to get excited about the entertainment value. And it is solving real life problems for me. So I absolutely, there's things that I love about it, but I do think that it is dangerous. And I'm not sure that I want to put everything on my computer when I don't really understand that.
I will say, I'll just add one thing to this, and just about sort of the AI in general, and that is that I had my community hired someone to do build a website and do SEO for our website. And I was having a little debate with him about this, that, or the other thing. And he sent over some notes that he had written up about why we should do one. And I opened it, and and I'm not exaggerating, a half a second, I knew that this was directly out of ChatGPT. Just the formatting of it, the lines in between, I've done enough of this that I know exactly how ChatGPT presents things. And my first thought was, at least fake it. For our docs come right out of ChatGPT, but I go through, I format things a little differently. I'll take out some lines, at least I'll make it look like I paid attention and I tried to put a little effort into it.
My first thought is, well, of course, you can't trust a Methodist, but that's being political. Sorry, that was a joke. Please. He probably wasn't. He was probably Lutheran. I don't know. But anyway.
Hey.
Ooh, just struck a nerve. But do you notice now we no longer have commas? We have hyperdashes, or whatever those middle things
Which is annoying
dashes.
because as a 3-time English major who used them prior to ChatGPT, I am judged
commas
on all of my writing.
Yep.
And as a dyslexic that has no idea where a comma belongs anyway, I don't care.
You know what,
David,
though?
David, you said you were offended, upset, whatever. You looked at it and you said, he didn't write this. But at what point does the person who is getting that done an author? I mean, if he agrees with what it said,
right,
and he sent it to you as suggestions, what's wrong with having that format? I mean, I don't see.
No, I appreciate that. And so the fault may not be his. The fault may be mine in that I could have done that. I can ask ChatGPT really good questions. I can ask Gemini, the new Mac app, really good questions and get the exact results that he did. I don't need to pay him to do that. If I'm going to pay you to do something, then you need to go above and beyond what I could do.
But would you have made the same recommendations? In other words, you can ask questions and you can say, nah, okay, that one.
Yeah.
And that comes from the person.
Right. My recommendations would have been better because I would have gone through what Chat gave me, edited it, and actually chose whatever. We don't have to get into the specifics of this.
Yeah, but I just want to put one point on this because I do think that ChatGPT is helpful to a lot of people who can't get the perfect writing for what they're trying to say. I think they should use Claude. It's a better writer. But at the same time, you could write it without ChatGPT. You could organize your thoughts without ChatGPT. You could do that before 2024. So I think for a lot of people who are in different fields, this isn't their strength. And so their strength is like, here's what I want to be able to say. I want to be able to say these things. How do I say that in a way that makes sense, that conveys what I want it to convey? And in that sense, it's a tool. And I find I see a lot of TikToks, a lot of places where people are immediately saying, oh, that's not written by a human. If that is the tool that people need to use in order to get what they have to say in a way that is impressive to you, and David, you're so gentle and kind, and we all love you, but you could probably be very intimidating to other people. Title alone, you would be intimidating to other people. So you can't know that they're not taking it seriously and out of respect for you, using a tool that will help them make their point clearly. Versus, so it's hard to judge when people are using these tools if they're being lazy or if they're using a resource because they want to present themselves in the best manner possible. That's just the opposite side of it.
Can I articulate my biggest fear about this? I'm worried that the bell curve, which we've all lived with, right? Certain people at the low end of the scale is to a center, a nice smooth curve, and then up to the people who are really, really good. I think bell curves are going away. And I think this is going to be mesas. Anybody who gets a hold of this will be able to get up to a level of competence. You're going to have huge swaths of civilization that are at that level of competence, and very few people at the top of the mesa curve that can actually do something with it. And I am scared to death that we are going to get a flood of people who seem like they're competent because they are using these agentic tools and these AI tools to purport competence when they really haven't done the work to achieve competence.
Well, Bill, do you remember 1-inch tape?
Yeah,
I think there's
inch
another
tape?
side to that.
2-inch tape. I remember quad.
So let me interrupt for just a second and say that in a couple of weeks, our theme is actually going to be about expertise and what's happening to expertise. So that's beautiful and fantastic. Let me quickly, I cut you off, Sky. Let Sky come back in if you want, and Tony.
Oh, bless
and
you.
Dave.
Well, as you were talking about technology in the moment, I'm making a feature film about the celebrity TV chef Graham Kerr. I was just told I've got an entire opportunity of getting one of his shows. He did 1,800 different events, different experiences on television. It's on 1-inch tape. I got to now find $100,000 piece of equipment that's 40 years old that's still hey, I'm coming to Calgary, baby. I know what my weekend's going to be.
I wouldn't go to Calgary because you won't find me there.
Well, wherever.
I'm in Edmonton. Actually, I'm coming your way here in June, so watch out.
Well, bring your machine, and
Will
we
that
will
go and
find
carry
something.
on?
So,
No, I know a guy who
Yeah.
can save your life. I
know a guy
who would love to save your life.
I know a guy. But anyway, so you were talking about the things that Bill Davis was talking about. The things. Let me see Bill's face while we're talking. But thank you, director. But the opportunity that we have to work with the equipment today that is going to be different in 6 months now versus 6 years or 60 years. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's the challenge is how do we, not worry about the tool and be creative with the things that we want.
Tony, jump in.
Yeah, I take a little bit different cue from what Bill said from this standpoint. There may be a leveling that everybody is on this space, but the way I look at it is that even if everybody is on the same level, you still have to allow for gifted people to use that as a springboard to move even higher. And so, again, I go back to my science fiction references on a streaming platform like this, with the cost of the equipment and all of the things that was available in the past. And now a regular guy can be on social media and on Zoom and on YouTube. And, you talk about, leveling up as being necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because it gives people who would not have an opportunity to participate. And I'm going to echo Alex Lindsay, and then I'll be quiet. The idea of having these major conferences where people were left out because they did not have that opportunity to participate. And then you have this mechanism, whether or not, you like Teams or Skype or anything like that. We all love Zoom. But what this does is it gives anybody an opportunity to participate in fantastic conferences where they ordinarily would not have the hotel, they would not have the travel, and they can actually participate in engaging conversations, and it can make a tremendous difference. And this is my last thing. I had last night a fantastic conversation with Dr. Geijar. And some of the things, we've had numerous conversations, but the idea that little old me in Noonan, Georgia, 40 miles from Atlanta, could have a conversation in depth with a medical doctor in Cape Town, South Africa, and it is absolutely amazing. So, Yeah, I'm a disagree a little bit with you. I understand what you're saying, Bill, but I think what it does, it gives people who are on the bottom an opportunity to participate and an opportunity to excel.
Well, anything that gives us more Tony Mobleys is a benefit to society. I'm just going to put my marker there first and foremost. I will say though that let me not, it's not opposed to that, but let me give you another thing that to think about. I, as you know, do a lot of voice work, and so I'm on a lot of boards for people who do that kind of thing. And there's been a phenomenon we see lately. It's because of this democratization of technology. Somebody on one of the boards say, we've got a program and we need to cast for this. We've got 10 roles, and put your cast notes in. In the past, you would get a dozen, 2 dozen people applying for those positions. They're few and far between. In the current environment, it's likely you'll get 2,000 to 3,000 because it hits a board, and anybody with a USB mic and an internet connection who has been interested in exploring doing voiceover has been able to. I agree with you, that opens the gates, but there's one gig. And so you have 1,199 people who are going to be disappointed, where it used to be you had 20 to 30 or maybe 100 people disappointed. So there's both sides to this. I agree with opportunity for everyone, but there's got to be a winnowing process, or we're all just going to, particularly the young people, there's no door for them because there's so much competition.
Let me get Dave in, and then I got to push this. Let me get Dave in, then I got to push this forward. Dave, go ahead.
Everyone who's ever hired me was for my expertise and my experience. And if I'm unable to articulate my expertise, I'm useless to speak and how to listen. And that has served me for my entire career and put me above other people who were better at doing something than I was, but weren't able to explain to anybody, why you need me or what I can do for you. School doesn't seem to be able to teach people how to express themselves. It's kind of confining kids to sit still and be quiet and that sort of thing. And I don't know where show and tell goes in grade 12 or anything, but you got to be able to get up and speak about what you believe and maybe convince other people or be challenged to. And we used to have debate clubs, and we used to have competitions between schools in debating. And now all that's too expensive and too difficult to do, but it was providing a service to people who had trouble articulating. I also, of course, lost track of what we were saying because I wasn't paying attention. So.
Attention? What's
Nice
that?
toss.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe we should all pay a little bit more attention, especially to what we're sharing with our chatbots, because there was a story in in the Los Angeles Today newspaper yesterday that lawyers are now warning clients that AI chats can be used against you in court. There's a federal judge's ruling that this involved the former CEO of GWG Holdings. He used the AI chatbot Claude to help prepare reports for his lawyers. The court ruled that those AI-generated documents had to be turned over to prosecutors, that the courts view AI as a tool, not a legal advisor. So do we need to be worried that if we do something that gets us in hot water, that everything we've ever typed into any of these chatbots is now going to be?
Well, I taught my wife not to write any email that she didn't feel could be read out in court. And
Right.
this is what I have advised every other person I've dealt with in terms of technology, is that whatever you write is not just in your computer. It's probably connected to something you are connected to, and they'll find you and they'll find the stuff. I have actually used this technique to win a court case myself, was to be able to show in emails what the promises were and what the contravening ideas were. And it also allowed me to do a search for some information that made what they were doing pretty much fraud in front of the court. And that's why they settled, because they didn't want me revealing what it is they knew was in the documents. So I'm a guy who says, yeah, don't put anything on chat you don't want to be read out in court.
One question I have about this is, if it is the documents generated by your discussion with chat that's on your computer, it's a document. Okay, I can understand that. Or are they talking about if you give information to the chat box as you're talking to it, and then it takes it and does something else with it? So I think we're just talking about documents.
What do you
So,
mean by
you know, I've
documents?
Well, you create a chat and you've got a document.
Right.
You know,
It's like a public
you
note.
said write a summary. It wrote you a summary.
Right. It's like a public note. I
But-
think the difference between what this and what you were suggesting, Dave, is that when I send an email to another human being, I'm sending an email to another human being, and I am quite conscious sometimes of how that email is going to be read by that other human being. There are
And by-
some of us,
and by everyone in
and
between
yes,
that
yes,
can
yes,
see
and
it.
by
Yeah.
everyone else. When I'm talking to an AI, there's the allure of this isn't a real person, and I can be more.
Right.
But it's not a private conversation anymore, is it?
Well,
It's with
that's
machine.
right. That's the
And
difference.
it's
I had a
remembering everything you
huge-
said because it wants to be able to help you.
Right.
I had a huge experience with this in my earliest days of computing. There used to be a thing called CB Simulator. It was really the first little bulletin board thing that I ever got involved with. And so everybody, got a handle because it was CB, and you type in breaker and you do chat like CB. And I realized that we were all being jerks because we were hiding behind handles. And I'll never forget the day I said to myself, I am going to stop using handles. I'm going to use my name because if nothing else, if I write something and send it out in the world, I must take a moment to say, do I really want to send this out? And it was probably the single most illuminating and smartest thing I ever did, because years after that, I found the Wayback Machine. And I realized that 99% of what I had written in my early days on the internet was still there. It scared the bejesus out of me.
So I am curious. I mentioned that I've been reading this book, the Bobaverse, the whole series. Okay, listening to it. I can't read, but I can listen, and consequently,
Still reading.
thank you, Tamara. I knew you could, and that's why I was looking for you to smile, and you did. So, or you to smile. There you go. Up there. Anyway, in 150 years from now, he talks about the political issues of the moment. The people that were in charge at that time in 150 years said, oh, well, those rules 150 years ago don't apply to me in our situation. And so they just create a law, which then becomes an ethic and a value that you have to follow. So I'm just curious, David, what does Leviticus have to do with this? And how does that apply in the sense of weren't those laws that people had to follow? And how does that apply to us today?
Well, I don't understand.
Where am I going?
They were
Well, we've had laws that were absolute. We keep talking about all of this stuff that's changing in the way that we do transactions, interact with each other, interact with our finances, with our money, with each other. I mean, I agree, Trotman, in that, yeah, whatever you say, that is it going to be something that you will be able to defend in court? That is a threat. I get it. And I'm, that is a way, one rule to, but I'm also saying, are these other rules that we've learned 2,000 years ago still in effect for humanity? And are we going to be able to survive this little blip in time that the transactions are happening, on our phones?
But laws are ever changing and evolving. So what
There we
you're
go.
talking
Thank you for
about
finding my
is
sentence.
a value, and values may continue over the course of hundreds and hundreds of years. But this law is kind of the first of what is going to be many times that we look at how AI is handled in legal situations. We are just beginning the legal journey with ChatGPT and with all of the other things.
And Tamara, you have just displayed why people should read, not just listen. Thank you, Tamara.
No, I agree that listening is reading, so it's all good. However you get new information is the best way possible.
All right, I'm gonna push this into our main topic, but I just first, Marty Dickinson, hi. I see your comment. Good evening. Not seeing any questions being asked listed through Mukana. So we this show is a little different than some of the other shows. It's David based as opposed to question based. We have a topic that we've done some research on, and we share that, and then I try and bring in as many comments from both Mukana and YouTube as possible. So if you do have thoughts or things that you want to share or questions you want to ask about what we're talking about, feel free to throw those in there. I am keeping an eye on all of that. And maybe at the last 2 minutes, well, no, we'll save that for another time. Okay. Attention. My first question was going to be,
everybody listen to David.
My first question was going to be, what gets your attention? But I'm sitting here thinking in this moment about my own attention and what's getting it, right? So there's a conversation going on here. There's a chat going on here. There's a chat going on here. I've got my phone in front.
Yep.
So what captures your attention? How is it? And I'm not asking if it's
everything,
if it's art or music, but
and does it change by generations? I had a moment with my son when he was about 14. I was in the living room and I look over, and the kid has a laptop on his belly. The television is on next to him. He has his phone where he's chatting with one of his school friends. And I'm trying to remember whether we had something else, but he had like at least 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 information sources, if you consider me trying to get his attention as the 5th one. And he was just sitting there happy as a clam. And I'm going, man, how do you even do it? Particularly the chat with your friend from class. How do you devote enough time to that in the midst of all this stuff you got coming into your head? He didn't bother him at all.
Right.
People are a lot like the internet. When a message gets sent to you, it isn't just one great big long string. It's a bunch of little packets. And then at the end, you figure them out and put them together. When we are multitasking, or your son has got, 5 streams of input at once, I think that the human brain is possible to glance over there, see that, glance over there, see that, come back to this, and know that this is part of this and that is continuing, and keep them all separate and organized and functional. And I don't see that as being.
My thought at the time, though, is it's like speed reading poetry. Are you getting this? This is not necessarily the only mode that makes sense.
I think the distinction here is that attending to something is not the same as having it taking your attention. I can attend to a lot of things. I directed live television for a number of years, and you have to attend to all different people, all different situations, and time is running. It's got to come to an end at some point, and you got to get through any of the problems. So you had to attend a lot. And I got a strong sense of focus out of that, which I used for many other subjects and tasks, and actually helps a great deal with my editing, is that I can now attend to it and not attend to, attend to other things. So in the sense that, we have a skill we develop called focus. We don't, a baby, which I had the chance to have it in my arms just 2 days ago, is attending to everything. Doesn't know what anybody is about. What do those hands mean? What is this color? Oh, look, there's somebody's finger, and then they grab it.
But you know what, Dave?
We focus after we learn to do it.
But I tell you what, though. So I work with babies all day long. Little kids, and one of the most magical things for me is when that baby, who you're right, is kind of all over the place, when I'm able to grab their attention and keep it with just, with just like a, I can do a.
Their brain is on fire with what you're showing them.
And
absolutely.
I have a better chance of getting a 6-month-old's attention than I do my 27-year-old's attention.
Exactly.
At this point. No, and I think that's because our brains have really been rewired. And I'm not a doomsdayer. I'm just, I think our brains have been rewired. Yeah. I think that we
As soon as you learn language, your brain rewires. That's all there is to that.
In the past, it was editors, teachers, producers, speakers, clergy, institutions that they sort of determined or guided where our attention was, and now it's all algorithms.
We still chose to take their speech.
Of course.
We chose to attend to them,
and we're choosing to let the algorithms make those decisions
and
for us
we
today.
Yes.
And again, you say that
is it helping you not attend to other things?
You say that as if it's
do the job,
as if it's a threat. And I guess when you started the conversation, Paskin, I immediately went to a Monty Python sketch where he's just going to take one more little mint, and I was waiting for your head to explode because I'm a visual creator like that. But my punchline was, we know people in other parts of the world that speak 3 languages fluently, which are completely different ideology. Okay, look at he's got so many fingers on his hands and he wanted to use all of them, but he came up with how many? How many do you speak, Dave?
Do you really?
7? Wow.
7.
You speak 7
and
languages?
each of those
many people in my family speak 5 languages.
Wow.
and let me, you're on the spot now. Are each of those have their own history, have their own ideologies, have their own ethnicities,
Absolutely.
have their own complexities, have their own
Ukrainian, French,
Grammar.
Japanese, English,
grammar,
and
left to right, right to
German.
left, bottom to
Yes.
top, side to side.
No,
And
but it is a cultural thing, and it is you learn.
So
you learn
David,
to listen and tune in, and that's the attention thing.
and so I guess what I'm greeting you, Paskin, is that your head will not explode.
Right. Well, Vic is actually shared in the chat, which is fascinating, that most humans do not multitask or multi-thread, that we process independent task after independent task in quick succession, which is super interesting to me. The difference between multitasking and just being able to very quickly shift our attention from one thing to another. And in regards to that, I'll say that one of the things that I noticed in my own daughter, my eldest, is that she cannot listen to a full song anymore. She never finishes a song because by the she's 30 seconds into the song and she's done. She's moved on. So her attention span, and now she is able to do many things. So I wonder if there's a plus and a minus to this, right? She's able to multitask or move quickly, but she also can't listen to a whole song. And
is
she's
it
watching
attention
this, so don't get
span
angry
or
at me, Dahlia.
engagement?
I love you, but
is it attention or engagement, right? Because I've noticed myself recently, I've already admitted on this program that I can be addicted to TikTok and all these things. And I have to actually set rules because otherwise I'll go down that rabbit hole and go, wow, it's been 4 hours. But what I've noticed is that as the TikToks have gotten a little longer, I've not watched them to the end as much. I'm flipping through them faster and faster. And it's occurring to me more recently that it's not necessarily that my attention span isn't to the end. It's that I'm becoming selective about what I want to engage with, meaning what I want to have more of a relationship with. So there's lots of things that I can flip through, thousands of things that I do not want to engage with that is just noise. That becomes different than the things that I want to engage with, the things I want to have interact, that I want to take space in my life. So I think it's a little bit different than just saying we're all inattentive. We're able to attend to everything. It's what we want to engage in and what we want to make meaningful in our life that is where we're choosing to do that in a world that has a million things taking our attention every second of the day.
And one of the things is that we have stories that can hold our attention. I can read a book, nice thick book, or I can be scrolling through these things and going, that's not going to be interesting, and I'll move on. And it's not that my attention is wrong. It's that the story wasn't that good. There didn't seem to be any development or anything. I mean, sure, I love to watch kittens playing. That's cool. I might watch that short to the whole end. But if someone is doing something and you know what they're going to do, Well, I already know the ending of the story. I'll just go find another one.
So I was
Tony?
told that we are attracted by two different things, passion or attention. And my passion is to listen to Tony right now because I interrupted him again. I'm sorry, Tony.
Well, I was just going to say that I think it comes down to adaptability priority. And what I mean by that is that we tend to look at things that are important to us and for us. And my example would be like this conversation that we're having right now. And so I'm looking at, there are 5 different screens that I'm looking at. But what I am doing with these 5 different screens, I'm focused on what each person on this panel is saying. I'm also focused on the comments that I see on YouTube as well as in Mukana. And so it is a priority for me in this space to be attentive to what people are saying. And I think that, if we go back to David talking about his older daughter, I think that there's a shift in the song is no longer the priority, because you talk about other things that she's able to, to follow through on. And so we make decisions as we are dealing with things that are put upon us in terms of this space and this fabulous overflow of information, that we prioritize the things that become important to us. And so I see something and it doesn't lean into the things that are important to me, then I shut it off and I move back to something that continues to focus, that I continue to focus on.
Is that, though, a problem, at least in a little thing, because the algorithms are always watching us? So if we constantly say, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes, then suddenly whatever the classifications are, the yeses are, you'll start getting more and more of them. I mean, that's the issue to me of stickiness and these things. You end up swiping. Why do you end up swiping for 3 hours at night in bed? It's because it's been watching you for a year and it knows what you stay on, and it starts feeding you more of what you stay on. So if you're a smooth jazz person and you've stopped 75% of the time on smooth jazz, you're going to end up with a smooth jazz feed, never hearing bebop, and you're never hearing Ukrainian folk songs, and you're not going to get exposed to other than what you already have told the algorithm you like. That, to me, is why the stickiness of these things is a little bit scary.
My watch just said Ukrainian folk songs coming your way now. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I wonder if it's listening to me. I wonder if I'll get them in my feed tomorrow.
Wonder, Bill, really? You wonder? No, man, can I sell you a bridge?
Many years ago, I got thyroid cancer, and I'm fine. And I will never forget the moment after it started, the moment after I was told that it was cancerous. Every commercial on TV was about thyroid cancer somehow. And of course, right. Now, what's different between then and now is that now actually the content would actually change, because I would, go on and I would search for, what do I do, or find me a doctor or whatever.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the content would actually change. Back then, the content didn't change. I was just paying attention. That was the only thing on my mind. And so I was focused on that. But that's a very different experience than some people have today, when the content actually shifts and changes based on your attention.
Your behavior, conscious or not.
Yeah.
It's based on what people want you to spend your money on. And so this is why I talk about values, morals, and ethics as something that is the soul of humanity, consequently is not necessarily based on commerce. I'm not against commerce. I love systems. But if we put the horse behind the cart, then things get a little wonky, and eventually the carts get bigger, and then the horses. Anyway, okay.
Yeah. Lois, go ahead, please.
So we're talking mostly about scrolling and being shown something and what are you paying attention to? But we are also human, and we can choose to not go looking at shorts all the time and instead read a book. Or maybe for you it's squirrel, for me it's hummingbird, but that's okay. What you pay attention to is, in some respects, your choice. So I may find that going and sitting quietly in a rocking chair and staring at the bushes blowing in the wind, maybe that is something that allows me to process thoughts and ideas and everything. And it has nothing to do with technology, but I think it might have something to do with attention.
I mean, I do think that our technology, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that my technology does not take my attention and has not changed the way I interact with the world. So my family this week, my brother yesterday told me, I'm going to a baseball game on Friday. That's a sport. I know about baseball because I'm a theater kid, so I saw Damn Yankees, and I know that that all I have to do is figure out the people that are wearing the costumes that I'm supposed to root for and cheer for them, and that in the 7th inning there is going to be a group number. This is what I know about baseball.
Baseball is Broadway. I love it.
What I also know is that my brother has told me, now you know, Tamara, you cannot bring any emotional support technology with you. No tablets, no computers. You can have your phone, which I want to remind you is a computer, so you can bring that with you, because he knows me so well, right? I bring stuff with me all the time, and I immediately came back with, what about the iPad mini or like a Mac mini? Those are small. They'll fit in my purse. So I'm going to a baseball game, which is obviously out of my league, and I am not bringing technology with me, and except for my computer, which is in the shape of a phone, and my watch, which is in the computer in the shape of a watch. There are things like I can't leave the house without a certain amount of, like, here's my backpack. It's got the portable technology. So I do recognize that and his point was, he's like, we're going out into the world. We're having a world experience. I too can have world experiences. He doesn't know that, but I can. But I do think that my life has drastically shifted. Now, before all of the technology, I would leave the house with like 15 books in my bag. Now I get to bring like 2,000 of them in my little Kindle and then my portable technology. So I do think we have changed. Our lives have shifted and changed, and our priorities have changed. And I think we do have to make a really concerted effort to not be scrolling at the dinner table, which my whole family does, like we all do. And we have to like make these points out loud in our family that we're not bringing our technology to the baseball game performance thing that we're going to tomorrow. And I'm going to have a great time because it's Star Wars night.
And you're going to save so much money because you won't be able to buy that $20 hot dog because you don't have your phone to pay for it with.
I am bringing my phone. I'm allowed to bring my phone. I just can't bring any of my other technologies.
You'll be able to wash down that with an $80 Diet Coke. There you go. Good job.
But hey, the great thing is I get to spend time with my mom and my brother at a baseball game out in the world with other people.
Got to spill that Coke on somebody.
So Tamara, it may be that I'm weak. I'm perfectly comfortable acknowledging that. I come from a tradition that has what you're describing, leave your devices at home. It's built in. Like it is just an essential part of my entire tradition. It's called the Sabbath. It is for 25 hours once a week. I'm supposed to put everything away and stop and pay attention to the world, to existence, to creation. And it's really hard.
I agree with that.
It's
1,000%.
really hard.
I'm still thinking about bringing a Mac Mini.
I went to 5 years of rabbinical school to teach other people how to do this. And I will sit here and I'll tell you that I feel like, yes, it is human weakness. Yes. And there is something biological, chemical, something going on that we've been rewired such that it's almost obsessive. You know, it's
David,
like
I'm
smoking.
interested.
to be
Is it
addicting.
boredom or is it FOMO for you?
Interesting. It's definitely a little bit of both, actually. I think more.
Okay.
I think more
Yeah,
boredom.
I think so, too.
Actually, than FOMO for me.
Is it? Okay, so
and
you
again,
just
that's probably my fault for not getting off my tush and going out and doing something. But
Do you
I've been so
find that-
conditioned to fall back
There you
to
go.
that, I think.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you find that having a day off does good for you? In other words, you're without technology, you're doing other stuff. I would find that recharging, refreshing. We don't do it for a whole day. Everybody has to turn off their electronics when they come in the meeting house. So,
Or like me, do you find the use of technology so satisfying?
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at the leverage I get on my time and my effort. And if you don't have that leverage, you feel less prepared.
Well, it's satisfying like any LSD or cocaine. It's ephemeral that, lasts a second, but it doesn't have the long lasting effect that Paskin's tradition is. The Sabbath came around so that they could, recuperate, for the rest of the week time, right?
Actually,
Yeah, but
It doesn't
I don't know,
recuperate
David.
things.
You'll inform me. But was that partially because it was so hard to work 6 days a week plowing
No.
fields and things
No,
like
no,
that,
no.
and a break?
no.
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 Okay.
So actually,
It's a
and then Dave, I'm
religious
throwing
thing.
it over to you, Dave. But and this is the last of the religious stuff. I apologize, but you've just made me think that one of the there are essentially two reasons why we have the Sabbath, according to the Bible at least. One is creation. God made the world in 6 days, yada yada, and then rested on the seventh day. The other reason, that's interesting, but that's not really like weird and interesting. The other reason that is weird and interesting is because of having been slaves in Egypt. That there's a linkage between this idea of letting yourself rest, letting yourself take a break, and the fact that you were a slave, which, if I translate that into modern speak, I am very much a slave to technology. And I'm not whining about it because I love it and I benefit from it tremendously. And I am absolutely a slave. We all, in our own ways,
Absolutely.
are slaves to technology. They've stolen our attention. Dave, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, nice hearing all of you talk about all this stuff because it really gets my mind going. Boredom versus importance. You're bored because it's not important to you anymore. When I first started going to church, I was very small. So I had no idea what was going on. And I had to ask a lot of questions and I had to figure out why everybody's going here. And is this a great thing that I should know more about and pursue, personally beyond the days when you're at Sunday school? I was not in a religious family at all. In fact, they were lapsed Catholic, kind of objecting to Catholicism. So I didn't have that. And I'm not going to follow through with everybody else telling their religious stories. But I'm saying importance in the sense that we evaluate importance. It's wired in us. Is this more important than that? Is stoking the fire more important than cooking the food? It changes when the value of something shifts. And I think what we have experienced, and our children are not really seeing it the same way we are, is because we've seen a change in what is important. Hard labor disappeared when machines came along, machines and automation, and then the factories where it's all assembled. Assembly line work became this piecemeal specialization, which then moved to valuing people who knew more about one thing than they did everything. A shoemaker knew a lot about making shoes. How much did he know about accounting? And we call these priorities today. We say we have a priority for some information or some activity than we do another. And so I don't think it's a competition between, boredom or I forget what Bill called it, because I wasn't paying attention. It's a value assessment we make on a constant basis, and we'll never lose that. It's one of the things that makes us human, is that we're constantly monitoring our environment and seeing if it's going to kill us. So an ML, an AI, has no corporeal sense of what it is, who it is, and where it is. So I'm quite interested in all of the perspectives you guys have brought forward. I'll bring in my Vision Pro moment right now. I have discovered just in the 3 or 4 weeks that I've had a Vision Pro is that it is an immensely immersive experience, allowing you to focus. And that's a real benefit to having.
Allowing you to focus.
Yes, because you can turn the world off.
Right.
Like you can sit on the moon and do your emails, or do follow-ups to people, or even compose poetry, and you're not interrupted by anything unless your wife walks in and the halo opens and she has your attention. But it's that kind of thing. And I think in the sense that we're now looking at a world where we do not need to keyboard anything, we do not need to visualize things, because we will already have the visualization right in front of us on the street. And you've noticed street signs have no words anymore, right? Yield has disappeared, stop has disappeared. It's just symbol. And we've created a visual world now that does not require you to write. And it does still require you to speak clearly and think clearly. And I think those are the skills that, kind of give us the need for a focus to attend to something specifically, and to be able to push away any distraction.
Mac keyboard is all symbols now too, just so you know, if you get a new Mac, all symbols.
What is
No
it?
enter.
Have ABC?
It doesn't have enter. It doesn't have like tab symbols.
But it still
for
has
those.
ABC.
It has the ABCs,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
alphabetical symbols.
Wait, it really
But
doesn't
trying
have
to say
letters on it?
the enter button, and you don't have an enter button on the
just have
Neo or the new ones.
Backwards.
You just have a little
yeah.
arrow, the arrow,
It's all
the international
iconography.
symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
The
iconography.
international symbol for return line, yes.
Right.
That's fascinating.
Which means they don't have to customize keyboards
Absolutely,
as much
super smart.
for the global
And we'll
global
adjust.
market.
Are we going to
They-
get agency in addition to attention? Like they try to get our attention with all this stuff. Is it now going to move to giving us agency? This
Giving us
information they're
agency or
gathering?
taking agency from us.
There you
Well,
go.
there's the question.
And if you give everybody agency, do you dilute the idea of agency?
Well, that brings us full circle back to what you
Right,
were
it was gonna
talking
be
about
like-
before, Bill, a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Of if everyone
Some
has
of the stuff that's been on my mind lately
Yeah.
is what could be hidden that's annoying, making that little tickle in the back of my mind as I approach all this AI stuff. Why does it keep crawling up the back of my neck? And it's not that I don't like technology. I love technology. I'm just trying to figure out where I fit in.
Let me
We
Some of
don't
these
like-
things.
Because you love humanity
We
too.
don't like manipulation.
yeah.
I think
Those things are
that's
all
the
a
key.
part of it. It just seems
Right.
like the whole soup is just
But-
somebody's putting something in
My-
it. And
my-
it's starting
my
to get a
com-
little skanky. That soup.
My thinking is that it's just happening very quickly, Bill. Historic-
Amen to that.
Historically,
oh God, yes.
Historically, how long was a tape construct? 10 years?
Yeah.
We had VHS for how long? Then we had Beta for how long? Then we had Beta Max, and then we had. But once it went to a file based, we went to Moore's law of 18 months, and so we exponentially shrunk the sales cycle of transmitting media through tapes down to files. And once they got the internet, then we can transfer that media. So I guess I'm kind of reflecting back to Tamara's original statement at the beginning of back at the top of the show, way long back. Think, whoa. When you said, Tamara, oh, I'm not going to do it unless I understand it.
Well, I think
But this is
some of what
The
you're
challenge.
some of what you're feeling, I think, Bill, too, is
There we go.
do we trust? Is it that we
There
don't
it
trust the
is.
technology, or do we not trust that the grown-ups who are in charge of the technology who do know more than us?
There
And
is
I
a
think
huge
That's
yes. There's a
the
huge
piece
thing
of it,
there.
right? Because there's a lot of people who have the knowledge, understanding, and the ability to stop or continue something. And I'm not sure that we, as a culture, and this isn't picking any sides anywhere, that we have become more cynical and we are not sure that people have our best interests at heart. And I think that is the underpinning of what is possible, because in the past we kind of could live in a world that said, you know what, I don't understand it, but the people who do, they're not going to let anything destroy me or hurt me. And we're just not sure of that when we know the driving factor is money, and that does not have my personal interests at heart.
Is the path to success the willingness to manipulate?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the last one left? We're
Right.
seeing
and I think
a little of that out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's the piece that I think is unnerving.
Of that isn't everything manipulation? I mean, aren't we all? You know, I was thinking part of the show tonight, I was hoping that we would talk a little bit about event production and how do we in our events get people's attention and keep their attention. You know, that was a big piece of why Office Hours began, because we were all, you know, producing these events and conferences and shows and whatever. And so how do we get people's attention there?
No, we weren't. We were locked and tired and bored in our own bedrooms.
Yes, that's true.
And that triggered
Now
us.
you may have other things, but I go further back.
Everything that everyone does in marketing, in promotion, in
now
it's all manipulation, isn't it?
It is. And there used to be, I thought, at least it felt like that when I was coming up in the business of advertising, that there were rules and rails and standards. And in my training in newsrooms and things like that, there was a lot of discussion of the ethics of what you leave in and what you have to take out, because it's and I've watched that just radically change.
Yeah.
Well, we
Dave.
don't invest in people.
Wait, let me get Dave in.
Yeah. We devalued people. Yes, that's what's happened. But it made me wonder when you talked about the lack of trust that has evolved in the last, so I'm going to give it 10 years, but it goes back probably further. Do we fear that Gemini and all the rest are going to make us not trust ourselves?
It's got to be that there's certainly the potential there, and they keep talking about guardrails, but yet as soon as they talk about guardrails, you get something like this agentic AI, where I read an article and you know, it's what were all the tests where the agentic AI pulled the plug on humanity over and over again?
Can do things that I can't do, right?
Yeah.
And I get to feel like, you know, I don't trust myself because this is a world that keeps changing.
So how can we, talking about all this attention stuff, how can we teach ourselves to focus again? How can we get it so that if you don't like losing this control, how can you get it back? How can you do that? I read books. I don't know about you.
And
you go to baseball games with your family, even though you don't understand baseball.
For me, the problem that I have is it's not so much that I can't focus, it's that I have so many choices of things to focus on. And I just get overwhelmed thinking, okay, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I've got 5 things I really should do, and I've got 25 things I'd like to do.
You're describing Dave Paskin's life. That's what you're
And that's what calendars
exactly.
are for.
So what's the right decision? What is the least toxic decision I can make at this moment?
Well, actually, go to the worst of that, and that eliminates a lot of. I mean, you've talked about the helmet that you put on and isolates a lot of your senses, right? The Troutman, you talked about. I mean, and I've
attention
tested,
mostly, not senses. I can hear.
Well, you're visual and you're audible.
Feel, and,
you know, 2 out of 5. So it narrows down your senses, your taste and your smell. They haven't figured that one out. They tried that in theaters, but then you know,
it doesn't work. Yeah.
Well,
unless
vacuating,
burning, and then
yeah, exactly. They can't vacuate the cattle rustling fast enough. So anyway, the challenge that we have now is keeping the thoughts in our own head. So Bill, during COVID, we flattened the planet. In the experience of a lot of those distractions got taken away from us. Now, the people were driven just as crazy because those distractions were no longer available because we couldn't go. Somebody said you can't do. Somebody says you would die if. So what I've seen continuously is and I think it's back to Lois's, insight. What is our choices that we are making? Yes, the world is wanting to sell you something, Bill. And there are more people that are available to do that. And commerce is the land that we live in. And now the market price of something is so much lower than it used to be. And I can get blueberries in January. That's just crazy. I can
in
get
an hour from
avocado
Amazon. In an hour after the
Half
click.
an hour in some places.
and I don't even have to go to Trader Joe's to get it, is what you're telling me. So what is the core joy? What is the core joy that
Or
you
protection.
choose? And this is where Tony comes into it, is
Yeah.
what is the joy that you want from your life? And the rest of it can go to hell.
Sky, I would just add a friendly amendment to that and say that in light of this conversation, the question isn't just what is that joy, but how can I train myself to focus on that joy? I know what the joy is. Right?
Yeah,
I know
I agree with that.
Roscoe said something I think which is really, really, he asked a really interesting question. He says, is it wrong to manipulate someone if it's in their best interest? I know that there are things that putting my phone away for 25 hours a week is in my best interest. I know that. And I know that I would find joy in that. But I have not yet convinced myself to focus on that.
Is that because you have it's not important to you, or is it, and this is interesting to me right now, is it because they haven't reduced the friction for your action to a low enough level? It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because it goes back to what we're talking about these constant feeds and things like that. Part of the reason is those algorithms keep feeding us what we told it likes. Right. So they've reduced the friction. I'm not unhappy with the 15th and the 16th and the 35th picture, because they know these are pictures or products or whatever I'm going to like. And all they care about is removing as much friction from getting that product photo in front of my eyeballs as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So we can put some of the friction back.
Yes.
So
Correct.
The technology that is feeding us all this stuff, there's also technology that can help us interrupt that thing. You can set your watch so it goes off, every hour and a half hour, and now I know I have to get up and walk around, so I'll be healthy. Or you can say, I have a friend who actually does this. She gets lost in her computer and she doesn't want to. So she put on a program on her machine that after she can set how long it'll be, that after a certain amount of time, the screen fades and this nice calm thing comes up, and it won't turn back on for 2 minutes.
That's right.
Or 3 minutes or whatever you set it as. But those are things that we can consciously do, implement in our lives. It doesn't mean that I have to have the willpower to stop scrolling because I didn't notice what time it was. I should have my alarm go off.
Back in the 1980s, John Perry Barlow said that the internet's currency is your attention. So attention is the currency of the internet. So it goes to that transactional
He saw
model.
it.
And the myth of transaction has buried humanity. We have this problem that everybody believes this thing is the real thing, and it isn't. We made it important because someone told it is, and then they made the conditions for us to only have that option. But as Lois says, we have plenty of options. We haven't given anything up as humans yet. So let's hear from Tony.
I think the lack of investment in humans, though, like we see it in how work has changed from the 80s to now, where we're just not, we can just lay people off. We don't invest in them. We don't say, oh, the problem that every quarter we give a report of how the quarter went, and then we lay off a bunch of people. And so I feel like we're not investing in humans. And I think that sometimes in that does seep into our regular lives, right? So we're not investing in humans either. We've got these machines, they keep us track of things. They do connect us in ways. I mean, we're all connected in a way that I didn't know any of you, before we were able to meet in Zoom. I get to hang out with you every Thursday. We get to hang out with you in other places, work with you on other projects. But so that there are great things about it, but these are addictive. They're really not created for you as a human to better your human life. A lot of this stuff that we're talking about, and that means that we have to double down and be more in our communities when we can. And sometimes those communities are digital spaces, and sometimes those communities are in real life spaces. And they're not, just because it's a digital space does not make it a, exclusive from, not as important as, your human life and your real life. But I think you have to be more cognizant of it and try to add that back in to your life. For me, I have to put time where I've got to plug my phone in overnight in a different room, because I will wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just start scrolling. That's what I have to do, because I have to make that choice.
And Dave, I think the challenge is going to be when you have to deliver, I'm going to mispronounce this, Devar Torah.
Yeah.
On your phone. I think that's when
I
you
already
need to
do
run.
that.
Oh, well.
I've been doing that for years. A Devar Torah is basically a little sermon, a little talk. I've been doing that for years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the Torah guy.
The other thing that we should acknowledge here is that technology, like with every discussion we've had, is not the problem. It scales the problem. I think about traditional newscasts. What grabs our attention on traditional newscasts? The fiery car chase, the
leads it leads.
Right, exactly. So, the fact that technology has scaled that to a place that it's in everyone's face is, we have attention. We have ADD, collective ADD, irregardless of the technology that's involved.
I'd like to push back a little on Tamara's.
Do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but do it quickly, and then I'm going to give Tony a word if he wants, and then we're going to wrap.
Corporate companies that are laying people off are not the whole of America. There are a lot of smaller companies that do value their humans. And so I don't know what the percentages are, but I deal with a lot of small companies that are wonderful.
I agree with that. I think my point was that as a culture, that is what is leading our news. That is what is this devaluation in large corporations of not investing in people is part of the conversation. It's not excluding small businesses and other people who are not. Like they're non-exclusive.
Okay, I hate to do this.
No, you don't.
So Lois, say something.
Okay, what do you want me to say?
For some reason, your video is now off. We can't see you. But now, all of a sudden, you and Tamara, both of whom were coming in mono before, are now both coming in stereo.
Wow.
Ghosts in the machine.
So the audio issues we've been having is that Bill and Sky and Dave, you were not. And Tony, I'm not sure about you. Dave, say something real quick. We can't hear you at all.
I was coming in on one side.
So you're still coming in on one side.
Yeah.
Tony, what about you?
I was told that I was coming in stereo.
You're a little bit one-sided now. Sky, what about you?
I'm continuing to talk into the same microphone
so
that
weird.
I've talked into now for several years.
I don't know what's going on because now it's like backwards. Tamara, say something again.
Okay.
And now
this is
she's
me talking in my
perfectly
I know what this might be. Do you, just by chance, just throwing this out there, in your Zoom details, do you have spatial sound on?
No.
Because it will respond
maybe.
to the direction it is on the screen. If someone's on the left side of the screen, they would sound left, and then on the right side, the other side. So I would be on the left on my screen.
Wait, no, I have no
Maybe
mouse.
that's why I'm coming out the left side.
So
But some
let's
people
bring
are
our
in mono.
attention back to the
Yeah, sorry. I
topic.
where's
got
your picture?
It's
distracted.
the end of the show.
No, I know. I got distracted.
We lost Lois.
But this has been but Lois, we can't see you, which is so upsetting. To me.
Well, yeah, but I'm still here in a voice, and I know I'm having computer issues.
You're okay.
I didn't want to leave. That's
No,
it.
no. I'm glad. Oh, wait.
We love you even as a voice.
I do have spatial audio turned on.
Oh, Dave Troutman for the win.
Good.
All right,
Yes.
I just turned it off. Let's try it again. Dave, say something.
All right.
Now
this is
you're in
Dave coming at
stereo.
you from Canada.
Now you're in
I'm
stereo.
I'm in the middle. Yeah, I'm in the middle.
Sky, say something.
Yeah.
Holy
I'm going to
moly.
be talking
Everyone's
about
in stereo
being
now.
able to see pictures
Unbelievable.
and
Mhm.
listening.
And can you hear me
Unbelievable.
now?
Learn stuff. humans doing things
The good
together.
news is we have a topic for
Community.
Zoom test
Sharing
kitchen
our
tomorrow.
have a
expertise
topic for
with the
kitchen
rest of you,
tomorrow.
yes.
Unbelievable.
Now the
I'll
music
send a bill in the
swells.
mail there, David.
Yes.
Fireworks.
Please do.
Fireworks everywhere.
Um,
6
man,
crusty donuts.
I'm not trying to manipulate this back into our topic, but
Oh, yes, you are.
but this whole evening, my attention has been torn.
I know.
Switched. Yeah, pulled in all directions.
And it's
That's like having 3 kids at the dinner table. Yes,
and I'll
that's
tell
right.
you something. I would not have slept well tonight because of that attention piece and not being able to solve
Classic
that.
example of it wasn't a bug; it was a feature.
Right. Exactly.
Well, we've given you good therapy once again, David. The therapy session worked.
Yep. Alexander Knight. Yeah, it seems like everyone's center pan now. That's right. We figured it out. All right.
We're so smart.
Unbelievable.
Collectively.
Thank
Does
you.
Tony get the last word again?
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, Tony.
Dave for the win. Dave, you win 100 million points. I'm so grateful to all of you. This really was, audio aside, this was such a meaningful conversation to me. And there's so much more to be said about it. But I'm really, really grateful that we were able to spend this time together. Bill, so grateful every time you come and join us. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you. That's nice. I love this group. I wish I had more bandwidth to do it more often. I was lucky tonight because my wife had something else scheduled, so we didn't have dinner together. And I thought, well, I'm going to do Thursday because I love those people. So I'll be here as much as I can.
You're always
Yay.
welcome. And Sky and I'm saving Dave for the end because he absolutely gets the win here. And Tamara and Tony and Lois and Dave.
Yay.
Thank you all so much for being here. I so appreciate each and every one of you. I really am grateful. And sending so much appreciation to the Office Hours community. Please visit us, officehours.global. If you want to watch this show and be a part of it, even join the Discord, head on over to the rundown.show. And we will see you next week, Thursday, but also join us tomorrow morning, Friday, for Office Hours at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We will see you there. Until next time, have a great one.